Oh shit. I started a podcast. Welcome to the Slasher Talk podcast. This has been a long time coming. I've been kind of going back and forth whether I wanted to start this or not. There's so many different horror podcasts out there, and I'm like, what can I do that's going to be different from all the podcasts that are out there? But I'm just going to start it and see where it goes. I've been doing a lot of reflecting the past month, the back end of 2025, going into this year, just thinking back and reflecting on this content journey and what kind of got me here. I get lots of messages from different people and other content creators and horror pages and stuff on Instagram and TikTok and now Facebook saying, "Brother, how do I get to where you are? How did you start? How do you do what you do? Like what's the magic sauce?" And unfortunately, there's no magic sauce. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But that all kind of has got me thinking like, what what did lead me here? Because I'm gonna tell you straight up, Slasher Talk was never something that I thought I would do, let alone be where it is right now heading into 2026. I haven't said this out loud, but like Slasher Talk is now pretty much my full-time job, which is insane to say. Um that's wild. So one of my goals for 2026 is to expand into YouTube and start this podcast. So I thought, what better way to start the podcast than to kind of dive into Slasher Talk lore and reflect and talk about and really dive into my story more than I ever have, at least in a public setting. Dive into my story and what got me here and why Slasher Talk is even a thing. So if that's something that you guys are into, episode 1 of the Slasher Talk podcast, you're gonna learn a lot about Justin and what journey and events brought me to become Slasher Talk. So, where to begin? One of the well, unfortunately, I have to start with kind of like some sad vibes. Um, I don't know. I mean, fuck. People don't know this about me. Well, my close friends and family and a few commenters and followers throughout the years probably have picked up on this. I've made some comments, this, that, and the other, but I was in a roughly it was about 13 years. I was with somebody, high school sweetheart, for about 13 years. We were married for almost 6 of those years. And the back end of 2018 leading into 2019, I went through a divorce. And that event literally flipped my life upside down. It was a very, very hard, devastating time in my life. I used to live in Southwest Florida. I owned a home. I had um, multiple businesses, mine and a business that I ran with my ex-partner. And so having to, go through the whole process of packing up my life and separating our animals and finding somewhere else to live and just all the things that come with a breakup. But this is a divorce, and it's a divorce of a relationship that has been something for right around 13 years. So that was the catalyst of all of this. And not to get into a ton of crazy details, I don't want to kind of dive into all of that, but the very important piece of this was the divorce happened. I still struggle with some stuff from that day to day, because of the nature of the divorce. Again, I'm not trying to get into all the crazy details or whatever, but a divorce happened, which led me to leave Southwest Florida, and I moved to Nashville, Tennessee in the beginning of 2019. So I moved in with my best friend of, now it's like 15 years, something like that. I've been best friends with Sean for, since high school. I moved in with him and his now wife. It was girlfriend at the time. I moved in with Sean and Mackenzie, and we lived in Nashville, Tennessee. So it's a whole new life and adjustment, living with roommates. I had never really lived with roommates and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, so I'm going through a divorce. I'm still trying to maintain um, some sort of consistency in my life. And so what I threw myself into was my job, and my job was graphic design. I had been a freelance graphic designer for 10 plus years, and my job was to design merchandise for musicians. So I threw myself into that. I would wake up, take my dog out, and I would just work. I would work, 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 work. And then going into 2020, guess what happened? COVID. COVID happened. Um, and this is when everything really, really changed, because I was a designer primarily for musicians that toured. Well, COVID wipes out the tour industry. So now I essentially have no job. And that was really difficult um, to stack onto the process of the divorce, because it wasn't quite final. Um, it took a long time. Like the divorce was finalized, but we still had things to figure out. We owned a house and all this kind of just details that went into. But so stacking, all of a sudden, I don't have a job anymore, really just threw me for a loop. And that led me to really get heavy into my drinking. Um, and I swear all of this is going to make sense. So, this is all very important. So, we are about 3 to 4 months into COVID, and I need to do something creatively. I'm a graphic designer. I need to create. So, I went back into my roots of my dream when I first became a graphic designer was I wanted to design movie posters. And to get into this next part, I'm going to go back to the year 2012. Right after I graduated design school, I went to a school specifically for graphic design called the Creative Center, and this was in Omaha, Nebraska. I attended the Creative Center from 2008, and I graduated in 2011. Um, I then went and got a job designing T-shirts at a local T-shirt company, but I really, really wanted to get into movie poster design, and I found this agency out in Burbank, California. It was called The Refinery, and I found through their website they had an internship I ended up applying for the internship, and it was really cool. It was really cool setup. They gave me a fake movie title, a fake movie synopsis, character descriptions, assets, photos of the characters, all this, and said, "You design as many different movie posters for this fake movie that you can. Send it back to us. We will have a look, and we will get back to you." So it was kind of like a time crunch. They really set a real life scenario in front of me saying, "Hey, like here's the brief. We need it, quick. This is a real life thing." So they're testing how creative can you be on a time crunch? What can you do? So I made my designs, I sent them in, and I remember going to work one day and I went to Arby's for lunch, and I ended up getting a phone call from somewhere out in California. And I answered the phone, and it was this lady that worked for the refinery, and she said, "Hey, we had a look at your submissions. We loved them. We would love to fly you out to LA, come to the agency, and have an in-person interview." And I was like, "No fucking way." So I set that all up. I flew out to Burbank. I met everybody there. I got a look at the agency. I'd never been out to LA before. I'd never really even left the Midwest, to be honest, other than a cruise that I took when I graduated college. So this was a whole new world for me. I ended up landing the internship. I spent 3 months designing movie posters as an internship for a real agency. It was incredible. I did end up taking the full-time job there because they wanted to pay me like $12 an hour to live out in Los Angeles, and I said, "No, thank you." Anyway, so fast forward. It's 2020, 3 months or so into COVID. I need to create something. So I tapped back into my movie poster, desires, and I've always been a fan of horror. So, part of my submission into the internship, one of the posters that I created to show them was a riff on Hungry Hungry Hippos, the board game, and I turned it into a horror action kinda movie like they did with Battleship. So I'm going through my hard drive one afternoon during COVID, and I come across this Hungry Hungry Hippos poster, and I thought to myself, "Brother, you have gotten so much better at movie poster design, Photoshop. Recreate this poster and prove to yourself how much better you have gotten." So I spent one afternoon designing a new version of this Hungry Hungry Hippos horror movie poster, and I had a blast. So then the next day, I did Candyland, and then that took a while. That was forever. And then the next one I did was Mousetrap, and the next one I did was Shoots and Ladders, and I just had an absolute blast making these. And I posted them on Facebook. Somebody on Facebook got a hold of those images because I was flying out to meet some, I was flying out to go to an Iowa State, Oklahoma game in Iowa, and I woke up and got on the flight. When I got to my mom's house, I saw that this post had been shared like 300,000 times. It went insanely viral. And I say this because the next week I got a message on Instagram through my design page, and one of my designer friends at the time had said, "Yo, Justin, you are going viral on TikTok." And I said, "TikTok? That stupid fucking children's app that people dance on? What the fuck are you talking about?" And so she sent me the video, but in order to see the video, I had to create an account. That's not true. Whatever. But so because that video went viral, I ended up making a TikTok account to try to take credit for those posters because I see that they were getting millions of views. And I was like, I want people to know that I designed these posters. I want to be able to sell them. I want to take advantage of this viral moment. So I ended up making a TikTok channel. It was under the screen name J Bryant 1126, and 1126 was my design studio name. 1126 Art Studio. And I spent a few months trying to push my artwork and get my posters to go viral, and I just could not. Um, I just couldn't do it. The massive amount of followers that I got was from this is such a full circle moment for me right now. It's insane. Scrolling on TikTok and being in the horror movie, horror talk. Of course, I saw videos from Horror Chronicles Sydney, and I thought her account was so fucking cool. She just always got on and talked about her love of horror and movies and constantly reviewing things and these lists and these deep dives and stuff. I'm like, man, this is so cool. But one day I got a tag and it said, Horror Chronicles has tagged you in a video. And I was like, hello? We've been, um, I believe we were mutuals before that. But this was like the, oh my God moment. And she had done a video going through all of the posters that I had done in that series because I had done like up to this point, like 12. And she went through and she talked about each one and she ranked them. And I got a ton of followers from that one video. But that was about the peak of my personal page talking about my posters. And so I was very on and off on TikTok. Every once in a while, I would make a video trying to push my artwork, and it just wasn't happening. And then I was like, cool, let me post a video. I just went and saw like a new horror movie. I'll post a review, talk about it. And slowly but surely, I got people asking, hey, man, did you see this new movie that came out? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? I would love your thoughts on this one. And I started getting in the flow of, okay, maybe artwork isn't going to be my jam on TikTok. Maybe I just need to talk about just horror in general. And so I kind of dicked around with that here and there, but it wasn't until damn. Um sorry. um it wasn't until the end of 2023 that no. Yeah. Yeah, I was 23. The end of 2023. So every year, I go to Halloween Horror Nights in October for my birthday. And Sean McKenzie and I just got home from our annual Halloween Horror Nights trip. And I was super, super bummed to be home because I just love, I love Halloween Horror Nights. But, my husky dog, Blaze, is there to greet me and all that. So we're just kind of getting in the vibe of, being at home, and we were watching movies and stuff like that. The next morning, Mackenzie, Sean, and I went to brunch, and we came home. We were gone for 2 hours. It was a normal morning. Got up, took Blaze outside, fed him, and then we left the house for 2 hours. And I came home and noticed that Blaze hadn't moved from the spot that he was in when I left. And I was like, oh, fuck. Because at this point, he was 14. And I knew it immediately. I called his name. He just kind of looked at me. And he always moved. He always got up. He loves Sean so much. He loves Sean so much. And so I called Sean into my side of the house. We have a split house. I have my own side, and they have their own. And I knew Sean would, Sean's gonna come over, and Blaze is gonna see him. He's gonna get up, and everything's gonna be fine. But this time it wasn't. Sean came over, and Blaze he didn't move. Um, so that day I had to say goodbye to Blaze, my husky dog that I've had for, at that time, 14 years. And it was a very layered event for my life because Blaze was the first dog that my ex-wife and I got very early in our relationship when we decided we were going to like move in together and do all that. Um so there was that portion of kind of the last thing from my marriage. And at that time I had been divorced for about 5 years. Um so it was kind of like this layered thing of like not only saying goodbye to my dog of 14 years, but saying goodbye to the last thing that I had that attached me to this person that I was once with and that I am now divorced and um all of that. But the other layer of this was Blaze was my consistency every day. I got up every morning to let him outside. I got up every morning to make sure he was fed. Um, I would take him on walks. And my major responsibility day to day was taking care of Blaze. And my graphic design job it just never quite recovered from COVID. I was getting more work and for sure, but it just never quite came back to what it was. So when Blaze left, when I had to say goodbye to Blaze in October of 2023, it was just like, fuck, man. Like, I hit a brand new low. I lived with my two best friends, but that didn't necessarily change the feeling of like, I am now alone. I am by myself. And I didn't have anything to distract myself with. I had no real important reason to get up out of bed every day. Like Blaze was that reason. And for days, week, way too long, I was just in bed and I get up to get some food, take a shower, go to the bathroom, but I just bed rotted forever. But what I turned to as an overall distraction was my love of horror. When I was in my bed, I watched horror movie after horror movie after horror movie after horror movie. And it got to the last couple of weeks of 2023, and I told myself, listen, you have to do something with this. I'm gonna challenge myself in 2024. I'm going to get on TikTok. I'm gonna take it fucking seriously. I'm gonna post every goddamn day. And I'm gonna talk about all the horror movies that I'm watching. And I'm going to extra challenge myself that I'm only gonna watch horror movies in 2024 that I have never seen before. No more rewatching Scream, no more rewatching Halloween or Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. No comfort films. You are going to focus on watching horror movies that you've never seen before, and that's gonna be your content. So January 1st, I s I started that shit, and it took a while, but that gave me purpose. That gave me something to do every day. That gave me a reason to get up out of bed, walk to my office, sit down at my desk, and record a video, talk to my phone, do something. So when people ask, like, what started this journey? Yes, I made a TikTok page to talk about my viral posters, but like legitimately, Slasher Talk was born January 1st of 2024, and that was a legit product of losing Blaze. And I was at my absolute lowest, and I needed something to get me out of fucking bed. I was so sad. I was so depressed because the divorce was hard, all that, but like in that time, like I needed something to essentially keep me alive. And so I was like, I'm changing J Bryant 1126. I'm rebranding as Slasher Talk. I'm taking this shit seriously. I'm gonna talk to my phone and post a video every goddamn day. And that horror hunt challenge throughout 2024 blew my channel up. And I think it's just consistency. Because I go back and I watch all my old videos and they are terrible. I look at myself, I see how, I wasn't eating. I was drinking handles of alcohol. Um, I was depressed. I can see how unhealthy, how unhappy. I can hear it in my voice. I can see it. They're terrible. But doing that every day, doing it it created this consistency, and people knew that every single horror film that came out that year, I'm posting a video about pretty much. I found all these new horror movies that I had never seen before. And so my love of horror was already there, but it exploded into this love that I just never had, like, really kinda, like, experienced before within, like, the genre. Like, I had this new appreciation, and I just loved getting on my phone and talking about it with people that needed a space to talk about horror. And that whole challenge, I did a video on Kidnapped, this home invasion this Spanish home invasion film that I had literally never heard anybody talk about. I found it on some Reddit forum. I did a video about it, and one day I got uh, a notification that some random person stitched my Kidnapped video, and lo and behold, it was this guy named Chuck. You know him now as Chuck the movie guy, the legend himself, but this was Chuck was growing. He was I think at that time, maybe 10,000 followers. And he stitched me and he's like, "Somebody watch over this guy because Jesus Christ, this movie right here is crazy." And I remember stitching his stitch, and that's how Chuck the movie guy and I became friends. And now I talk to him pretty much every single day, not just through text, but on the phone. And it just kind of spiraled from there. Um, I started getting opportunities. I got the opportunity to go to Fantastic Fest, and I went to South by Southwest, and I became friends with Gigi, Room for Scream. I eventually became I talked to Sydney in some way, shape, or form through text or whatever almost every day. Um, and all of that spawned from me being at my absolute lowest, which is insane to think about, but I think people can relate to that. And I had a conversation with Chuck um, a while back, and we were just kind of reflecting on how crazy 2025 was. And um, I was like, man, this has been crazy. And to reflect and think back as to like what even got me here in the first place, like I wouldn't even have this channel or be Slasher Talk or be talking about horror movies if it wasn't for my ex-wife cheating on me. And to have something that destroyed me now 7 years ago be the sole reason why I am doing what I'm doing now, why I'm doing this thing that has provided me this new outlet and this new journey and a new full-time job, because I'm not even touching graphic design now. Graphic design still has never really fully come back, and I needed another outlet. I needed to pivot, and content creation was that thing. For some reason, people love getting on their phones and watching me yap about fucking horror movies. And I don't quite understand it, but I'm here. And all of that is a correlation from literally my ex-wife cheating on me and my dog dying. And saying that out loud to somebody that's not family or a close friend, like this is going out, like that's crazy. And like I kind of brushed over the whole design versus content thing, but like that was a big thing all of last year. I kind of felt like the content road, I wanted to go down the content road and go all in. But design has been my rock and my staple and like the way that I pay bills and make money for 12 plus years. And oh man, like, what do you mean you're gonna like quiet quit your freelance graphic design job and go full time on content? What the fuck are you talking about? Um, but it's gotten to that point. And now I've just kind of gone all in. I'm now just owning this content stuff. I am Slasher Talk, and 2026 goals is to expand into doing YouTube more and growing my TikTok more and my Instagram more. Facebook has been going crazy, grow that more, but start this podcast and do more things like this. I feel like through my videos, you kind of get a sense of my personality and all of that. But if I don't post anything that's like horror movie related, like it doesn't go anywhere. So I want to use this podcast as a way to, yes, discuss horror. That's what we're all fucking here for, man. But also, like, give you guys a peek behind the curtain, and maybe other content creators are listening to this, and, like, it is true. It's so cliche, but, like, everything on the internet is designed and it's curated. Like, I only show you what I want you to see. And I get these comments and messages of like, "Man, you're living the best life. Man, dream come true. Man, you look so happy. Um, man, you look just all these just very positive, which I appreciate. Um, but I'm just now getting to the point of like accepting and feeling that this is a real thing. Throughout this entire thing, I've had crazy imposter syndrome. Um, I have a it's been a coaster of I'll have high moments and then I will just crash and my depression will just eat me alive. And no one sees that. Like that's stuff that no one sees. So I get these messages and things about, man, it's like life just must be going great for you. Yeah, I'm very appreciative and I'm very lucky and all that. But like 2026 is, I need to really um, just be more open and really look at where I came from, what got me here, and just be like, brother, you deserve this. You've worked hard. And this is something that's real. Expand and keep going down this road. Because posting on opening my phone, hitting that little plus symbol, and recording videos has gotten me. I've traveled. I've been to so many festivals and conventions. I have made true real life friends that I talk to almost every single day. It is essentially now my full-time job. So it's just proof that your darkest days, where you're at, when you're at your absolute lowest, you can overcome that and like new things can happen. And it's really hard for me to say that because, like, I am just like, I know it's true. I've seen it amongst my friends and I've proved it to myself, but just still, every single day, I'm such a pessimist, man. Every single day, I'm just like, oh, like, today's the day. It's going to be the end. We have to capitalize on this because things have been going way too good. Um, so, yeah, trying to get over that hump. But so yeah, there's some lore for Slasher Talk. What started this whole thing? Why I'm even here, talking to you in a mic on this brand new podcast. That's what led me here, and I'm so excited to start this podcast. I have no idea what I'm gonna do from here because I don't want to feel like I'm stepping on anybody's toes and like doing the same thing and um whatever. But if you love the Slasher Talk channel and you love hearing me yap about stuff, I would love send me a DM, send me, you any kind of comments, whatever. Let me know what you want this podcast to kind of be, what you want to see me do deep dives on. Do I do just like through and through spoilers here and there. I don't want that to be like the whole podcast, but I know it's kind of inevitable. But this is gonna be a work in progress. I just had to sit down and do this launch episode and just start the damn thing, man. So, um, obviously, if you're listening to this, you're a follower of the page, and I cannot thank you enough for all the support, whether you like, just like videos, share videos, comment, whatever, any kind of support that you make on any of the platforms, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is, all the support is so appreciated, and it allows me to continue to do this now full time. It's fucking crazy, dude. Oh my god. Um, yeah, I hope this podcast kind of turns into something. We'll see where it goes. I'm gonna stop yapping. I don't know how long this has been, but it feels like long enough, and I've shared a lot of stuff, and I'm honestly starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable. um, so yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Thank you for listening. It means the world. And remember, watch something spooky this week.